Hi, I'm Melissa, and this is the Book Break. And today I am excited to bring to you an author who wrote this beautiful book, The Light of 9/11, or in 9/11, and that's Lisa Luckett. Come on in, Lisa.
Hey, Melissa, how are you today?
Good, good. And did I say your last name right?
Yes, Luckett. Very good.
Okay, awesome. So I actually read your book a couple of months ago, and we just had, the anniversary of 9/11, but I felt like your book kind of brought a different angle to the story. And I'd like you just to tell us a little bit more about your story.
So I have a story that's very similar to many because there were a lot of young families involved in 9/11. So even though I had just turned 41, I had little kids. I had a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So, a lot of population within the 9/11 families were young families like that. So my husband was on the top of the North Tower, the 105th floor. So that's 2 floors from the top. I had an unusual situation. I walked in late that morning from taking my daughter to school. She hadn't been feeling very well. She was in 2nd grade. And my phone was ringing. And I picked it up, and a friend of mine said, "Lisa, what tower is Teddy in?" And I said to her, "Well, the one with the antenna on it. Why?" And she said, and I quote, "Well, turn on the TV because a plane just hit it and took off the top 15 floors."
Oh.
So she had basically just told me he was dead on the ground. So when I turned on the TV and saw the building standing, I had this like crazy moment of hope. Like it was this ricochet back and forth. I have a very unusual story of 9/11 because in this odd, strange way, I was prepared to handle it. So the overarching message now 20 years later is, your life is always preparing you for your life. And it's not the easy stuff that prepares you. It's the hard stuff that prepares you. And it's the way that we learn our skill set to handle difficulty. So to back up a little bit, Teddy, my husband, worked in the same offices on 105 on the first tower that was hit, the North Tower. And he walked down in the first bombing, and it took him 4.5 hours to get out. And in that bombing, there was no smoke outside of the buildings. Like it just looked like everything was fine. But when he got home that night, he was covered in soot, and it was the apartment just filled with the smell of smoke. It was terrible. So fast forward 8 years later, here I am looking at those buildings and all of that black smoke billowing up from underneath where I knew they were. And there was no way anybody was going to make it out of there. So I had that first experience of terrorism. And the second was I had a mother-in-law who worried all the time and kind of tortured herself and tortured me as well in telling me that Teddy was kind of a walking heart attack. He was 40 years old. We just had our 3rd child, was an infant, and working a very stressful job on Wall Street. And so in truth, he was a walking heart attack when you think about it. So I ran that through my mind all the time. And to the point I would get so upset at night laying next to him, almost weeping. And my point in that story is that the human mind is so brilliant. Its imagination was so vivid that we can bring almost as much trauma to ourselves thinking about something. So that all circles back to the idea that by the time, like 11 o'clock in the morning on 9/11, when both buildings had fallen and all things kind of were in a calmer moment, I was fine. I was calm and clear and watching everything and just kind of above it, really in a very, very surreal place, which I learned now later, many years later, that I was in fact being guided. So I know that's woo-woo, and maybe listeners out there or viewers are not, all about the Enlightenment, but that is in fact what happened. And that's what the book is about. The book is about trauma being an opener and the healing power of the opportunity to let people help you. And that surrender of control is really what it's all about. And when you surrender and let down and you let people come in to help you in these times, you're actually helping them feed their souls at the same time they're helping you. And it's a beautiful cycle, something I was very uncomfortable with in the beginning, but certainly understood the genius of it. So it's really about, healing from trauma and choosing to see the silver linings in your experience. Yep. So anyway, I'll stop talking.
No, you're good. This is why you're here to talk. So I really like that angle of healing from trauma, because so many of us go through trauma, and maybe it's not as dramatic as 9/11, but we all have, I think, maybe in this last year and a half, gone through some sort of trauma. But allowing someone to help you and heal through love, like the subtitle on your book. I think that's fantastic. So I want to share something. See these cute little hearts, everybody? I'll put them up here. Wait, there we go. Yeah. So when I got Lisa's book, I got these cute little hearts. For those that haven't read your book, Lisa, tell us about your cute little hearts.
So the pocket hearts are like my favorite thing from 9/11. And what ended up happening is this. I had a breakthrough after about 4 years of therapy, and I went to the couch to figure out the why of everything, because the only way I could see to countermand the terrorism, that we could fight back in any way, was to make something good come from 9/11, was to figure the why out. And so about 4 years into it, I broke through the ceiling to mental health, and I got this unbelievable download of creative process. And part of it was these little hearts that came through from a story that I had from a man who brought to me in the days that followed 9/11. He was a local fireman, and he had gone to the site. And I really wanted to go find Teddy myself. I mean, I'd lived in New York for 12 years. I'd done business in the World Trade Centers. They were very dear to me personally, not as well as Ted being there. But I couldn't get there. I had a baby and two kids and parents and people, and they were in my way. And it was this crazy idea, right? But you need to get to your people. And so he walked in this morning and he said to me, Lisa, I was down at ground zero looking for Teddy, and I had this with me, and I want you to have it. And he opened his hand, and there was this little embossed angel on a coin. And I said, it's a pocket angel. And when I took that from his hand, I kid you not, I got this full body rush, like this spinning, like dizziness. And I didn't have to go anymore. It took it off my plate. So it was kind of like Harry Potter and a port key, like it transported me. And that magic, if you will, is 5 years later, I was playing with my kids, and I thought, that was so meaningful to me. But I've had such a beautiful experience of this horrible tragedy in the kindness of strangers helping me. So anyone who was there and around, who sent love and prayers to me, let me tell you, it worked. And we are here and healed because we were never forgotten. We were never let down. People that sustained us and helped us stay buoyant while we could heal. So the pocket hearts are all of that. In them, they have the energy of that kind of magical connection that's bigger than us.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think that honestly, the cover of your book really shows that feeling. I mean, I've seen other 9/11 books out there, but this one, it's like a beautiful piece of art, and it gives you the feeling like there's hope on the horizon. And I love that, because when any of us are going through a trauma, sometimes we have a hard time realizing that there's hope in that.
Right. Well, and that's what we have to remember. And that's what you don't see when you're imagining the worst, right? The cancer diagnosis, or a sick child, or the death of a spouse, right? You can only see the death and the pain and the agony, but you never see the beauty and the grace that's coming with it. And that's my point, is this flanking, if you will, this magnanimous aspect of who we are as humans, which is the need to help in a crisis. And it can be, as you said, everybody has their version of 9/11. It's actually a metaphor in this case, in the sense that whatever hurts, right? Whatever is taken from you, whatever transition you're in, and it can be a divorce, it can be a breakup. It doesn't have to be death. It's anything is allowing you to grow from it. And what happens is people will help you, but you have to be open and be vulnerable and let down that guard so that you can actually receive, because it's so much bigger than us. And the truth is, there, but for the grace of God, we're all going to have something sometime. So it may not be today, but it's there for us. And I just want us to trust each other, which is really hard right now because we're pretty separate and pretty divided. And the message of kindness, which is always what my message was, has been lost in the last couple of years. And I wrote a Facebook post recently, on the 10th, actually, that said, those softer messages have been lost right now, but we can get them back, and COVID will end. Everything ends. And we'll hopefully learn from it. And that's the point. What are we learning from these experiences?
Yeah. And I love how you talk about being open to help. I know, we have friends and neighbors and family members that have gotten COVID. And when we allowed other people to help us, we made it through so much easier. So, and through, the trauma of 9/11, and some people, 9/11 is a really tough time every single year. So if we can all remember to be kind, I think that'll make a big difference.
Right. It's not that, it's like, we still have so much left. And that's what you have to remember. My kids were little, of course, and I read a grief pamphlet like 3 weeks later. And on it was very simple. And it said, although we've lost so much, we still have so much left.
I love that.
And it just resonated,
Yeah.
And so it's all how we look at it. It's a shift of perspective. And the question is why. It's not why is it happening to me, right? That's the victim, which we all get to, right? We've all been bang and ouch and ow. But eventually it's the question is really, what are we being shown? Why is this happening for me? Why am I being shown this to learn from? And that's what I've spent 20 years learning. And I can tell you it's a complete game changer.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Lisa. And for our viewers, go and check out Lisa's book, The Light in 9/11. But there's kindness and love in that book. So thank you. And we'll see you all next time on The Book Break.
Thanks so much, Melissa.